My name is Arend van Riessen. I'm Bidesi. I came to work in 1982 in Nepal, and then after 3 years working in the Far West, I came to Kathmandu, and through friends I met my present wife. You just saw her, and since then I'm attached to Nepal. And in 2000, after 10 years work in East and in Far West Nepal, I went out for 8 years, and then in 2000 I came back and I did loose jobs, short jobs since then, and since 2004 we live in this house. We have been very lucky. That land was still cheap then. My brother had a small bird guide in which I now and then looked, and then my other brother got the binocular, and there I saw an advertisement for a nice bird book, and I asked that for our annual festival. You can always ask your parents something. And then I got that with a small field guide, and I went with the binocular, and I thought, oh, maybe nice to go once. And that was when I was 16 or 17 years old, high school still. And I went on my own, and that's how I started. And I got so curious, I continued going into the jungle. And most of my life I've done birding alone. But now, since 2004, since meeting many friends here, I do also regular Saturday birding with friends and go out. Yeah. So the one that I found most magic is Kaptart.
Okay.
Because when I was working in the Far West, we were working Bajang Doti, and in the summer I would take 1 day extra and then go over Kaptart, and we would meet the Kaptart Baba, and then we would stay 1 day there and look birds. And my bird guide was not perfect. I didn't know that much about birds, so I've missed many birds. I would like to return there, but it was quite magical to walk around there and not get lost. Yeah. I would still go to Nepal. I'm not ready with Nepal. I would go to Mustang probably. I still want to go to Mustang if my health allows it. Yeah. Ooh. No, that is, it's not, there's not one bird that attracts me most, but if I have to mention a favorite bird, I would say long-tailed broadbill, because when I worked in Elam, I walked to Chisapani, which is on the southern side, and then my colleagues were a little bit ahead, and I came down into a forest, and the light was coming through the forest, these light beams, and then there were these long-tailed broadbills. And I'd seen them once in my book, but it was so magical that, since then long-tailed broadbill is a kind of my favorite, or a special bird for me. Yeah.
I have this on me.
Okay, good.
I have taken this photo in Bosan.
Okay, in Bosan.
Yes.
Okay. I have upstairs, I have a painting. I had a painting made where I have that scene from Elam. I have transposed to Chobar Gorge.
Okay.
And I call them Manjusri's broadbills. Yeah, there are so many. I mean, the fact that I live here in this quite big garden, and that only last year I found out that this Indian blue robin is there. I only caught it on stealth camera, a camera trap, and I thought, I've been here all the time, and how long they already visit my garden in the end of April. It's just one week, first the male and then the female. And there were 4 in a row on different days. They were there, and they were all clearly different birds. So somehow they like this garden. And it's not really I've seen 2 live. After that I scanned everything, and I found them during the day. They were hiding and going around. But that is just one example, a magical experience. Yeah. What bird I like to be myself?
Yes.
Oh, that is very Katra. If I that's difficult, because if you're a small bird, you always have to look up, that you don't get caught by some bird of prey. Maybe an owl. Maybe an owl.
Why?
Because I would like to know how it is if you can see in the night and flying soundless, like the tawny owl in my hometown in a jungle there. I was always amazed by it, that it flew without any sound through the trees if I disturbed it by somehow. Yeah. If young people say that I increase their insight in birds,
Yeah.
that is for me a compliment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it is much more easier than when I started. I did everything alone. I went the other day with Sangyam Rumba. We went to Lakuribajeng for something, and I said, "Yeah, you guys, you go with us, and within one day you learn about the new bird because it's pointed out." And while I sometimes had to took 5 years before I understood which sound belonged to which bird. But so there's less. In Nepal, many jungle birds we identify by sound, because you never get a good view of it. And I can understand if that's frustrating for new birders, for young birders. So sounds is something that is a real challenge for new birders. And going into the jungle also along the Bagmati is much more easy birding, because it's open and you see the birds and you can identify them a little bit better. They are longer in view. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, so that is sounds are a challenge, and birding in the jungle with so many possibilities in Nepal also. I came here. I started birding 50 years ago. I came here 40 years ago. Yeah, nearly 40 years. The 1st of September. That's 40 years ago. And then there were no Nepali birders to my knowledge. Kaji must have been there, but I didn't know him. I bought the book by Fleming, so I went to meet Dr. Fleming, the junior one, and I talked with him, and he said, "Yeah, we have here some people, and we go birding on Fultsoki sometimes," but I went to the far west. So there was not much, and then in the 80s, then I got into the contact with the Inskips, and we exchanged by letter. And they visited me also in Ilam and in Kathmandu when they were visited here. So I know them from there. But for the rest, and there was another Bidesi birder, John Holiday, who did a resurvey in Ilam. So those were the birders I knew. I didn't know Nepali birders. And then because I was mostly also living outside Kathmandu, yeah, and if anything happened with Karnasakya and Kazi and some others, and Rajendra Suwala, so Hatan also started in those times. I didn't know them because I didn't visit Chitwan, I didn't visit Kathmandu much, so I didn't know those people. And only in 2004, or in 2000, when I came back to Nepal, I went to BCN and said, "Do you still do Saturday burnings? I'd like to join." And said, "No, we don't do that anymore. But we can organize a paid trip for you." I said, "No, that I don't want. I just want to go birding with friends." And then when I started to visit this area, the Bagmati and Taudaha, at Taudaha I met Bimal and Lalit Lalchan. And those were the first Nepali birders, and they said, "Oh yeah, you should join us when we go birding." And then I slowly started. It always remained small. When we would go on Saturday birding, there were 4 or 5 birders, something like that. And then slowly it started to increase. And then in the mid-2015s and so, people with cameras started to join. That also increased the number of birders. And then first we had only a small group going one place. What you see now is that you have the Saturday birding event by BCN or by Friends of Bird. but many others they go on their own, and which is lovely. And there's different organizations. There's Hambaral's organizations. There's BCN. There's WWF doesn't do much, but in terms of birding culture and so it's nice that it is now so diverse and so many people doing different things. The fact that you are doing this is also part of it, and I love it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm review coordinator for eBird, and I would love more people to use eBird so that the database for Nepal increases and that they upload photos. There's guys who make fantastic photos, but they don't upload them on eBird. And I think whole Nepal and also international, everybody would benefit if they would enter their data and enter their photos in eBird. And, well, if I may mention the second one is, nowadays it's quite easy to record sounds with your mobile. And I would love more people to record sounds with mobile. Yeah, that I found out in when we were making the Chhimeki Chara app. There were no Nepalis uploading sounds on eBird, or I didn't know people who had a kind of sound collection. So my not so good sound recordings I had to use. Yeah, I hope the next time when we update we can have many excellent recordings from Nepalis.
Yeah.
Ooh, do I learn from birds? Yeah,
or being close to nature.
All the from being close to nature. Yeah, that being in nature is enough. You don't. I mean, I live here in a luxury house, but that is not most important. I'm more happy when I'm living in a small shed. When I stay in a small shed somewhere high on a mountain, and the birds are around. That is actually lovely, and that if you. It's not that I learned from birds, but that I learn living with birds makes life much more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
When you're in the desert with some friends who don't bird, they are bored because nothing to do, but I will always see some birds and get excited. So, yeah, whether I have heard any myth about birds. Not many. My Nepali is not so fantastic that I pick up everything, but some I got one about Badrai, that if children, that I got from my wife, of course. She said in the old days, if children did not talk the first years, they would cut the bill of the Badrai, and I forgot what. I don't think they have to eat it, but because the Badrai talks a lot, so they would make the child maybe eat soup of it. I forgot what it was, so that he would get something of the talking spirit of the Badrai. So that's quite a cruel myth, and of course complete nonsense. Yeah. There's many things, of course, to say, but हामी अहिले त अब छिमेकी चरा campaign सुरु गरेको छ, just interesting general public in birding, looking once a year at birds or twice a year, and I hope from there we can move next to okay, हामी कसरी चरा हाम्रो एरियामा attract गर्न सक्छ. So, like in urban environment, trees they go down everywhere. Yeah, they build a house and there's hardly any space for tree. So, if you look at climate change and at enjoyment, then you need more trees in urban areas. You should not get rid of them, because June Saharma रुख बढी छ, त्यहाँ average temperature comes down. That's climate change. Then one example is Copenhagen. they did research that if people, the effect of having trees, seeing trees from your house makes you more happy at the same rate that earning 10% more salary makes you happy. It's comparable. So more trees and it's more towards urban areas and mayors, and so I said if you can preserve more trees in your area, then the people will feel more happy and more rich. They feel better.
Okay.
Yeah. So try to see where you can preserve trees, where you can make parks, also attract in those parks birds, how you can do that. धेरै knowledge gain गर्न बाँकी छ हाम्रो advice तयार छैन, but think about it and work on it. Yeah, त्यो त्यसमा knowledgeहरू gain गर्न धेरै बाँकी छ. We hardly know anything. Any research गर्न पनि सजिलो छैन, but through eBird, if more people submit on eBird, we get more data. Like मैले भनेको अस्ति हामीले large-billed leaf warbler breeds above 2,500, 3,000 meters. So हामीले यहाँ काठमाडौँमा देख्दैन, अनि कोही मात्र sound चिन्छ. So not many people notice it, but it's there. And then I noticed I had them once at the Bagmati in early May. So I thought, okay, they migrate maybe early May, but I've also seen them in April in Lukla and so. Then and then in September again, I got them once. And now we saw them in August at 2,000 meters. So they're coming slowly down. And then after that, how they move through India, but they go to Kerala, they go to Sri Lanka. So now we know that in August already they start to move. So these small pieces of knowledge, if more people contribute all those records, we get a much better picture. And I think for me, eBird is the most easy, where all the data can come together, and they also make these nice maps and everything, and that gives quite some insight. Otherwise, researching migration and finding out more, there's so much more to find out about it. Like say Manohara. Yeah, now we find so many rare birds coming in July to Manohara. I had no imagination. I thought in my book, I think I will have written, common snipe can be seen from September onwards. But here, common snipe is seen in July already. Yeah, and some other birds also, some other wetland birds, waders, kailepania dekheko छैन, because this environment doesn't have a big bagararu there. Like the golden plover, Pacific plover, and some other birds you see there, not here. And I had no idea that it would be there. So it's quite. We learn still so much. Yeah. I mean. Migration-specific studies might also be possible, but not easy. For students it's very difficult because they do the research in a very short period. And for migration you need multi-year data. You need a whole winter. So that's not easy, but I think in a university, if they say, okay, we do a multi-year research and every year another student will collect the data, then that also would be a good thing. Yeah, but I do not know whether they're interested in that. It comes from very long ago, from maybe millions of years. Systems have developed, and of course it has to do with food. So if it gets too cold for any food to be available in Siberia, then ducks and waders and many small birds, these sano, chara pani, they will go south, and how their destination has been fixed, it's we don't know. I mean, you remember maybe from my book presentation launch that I talked about the cuckoo. So where Nepali cuckoo are, maybe they go only South India, but the Chinese cuckoo go all the way to Africa. So they cross, and like greyback shrike, the ones what I think, what my analysis of eBird data is, that the ones from Nepal, they go to the greyback shrike, they go a little bit higher area in Nepal, and the ones coming from Tibet, they fly over that area, they come and they fly to Kathmandu and to India. So these patterns are very complex. Mirabagainsamati Indian blue robin kukura garako. Another one is blue-throated flycatcher. Blue-throated flycatcher. Amit mid of March. Amit jij jungle met betanza. At the end of April, always there are some blue-throated flycatcher, just one in a year maybe. That I see them end of April. They come here in the Bagainsa, also clearly on migration. So where do they go? Do they go here to Mutko Banjeng, or do they go completely different area? Why are they here in end of April? Mid-March dekit us Bazarabarai, Nagarjung, Sapai Gauna Talsa. And there ek mahina pachita arka answer, it will be too late for them. So so the migration patterns are still quite complex, not all well understood. So I don't know anymore what your question is about migration, but Derikura tap on a bagitsa, and it's extremely fascinating.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, and ekla is gonna sakdaina. You need what others. So if Arumansele yotatsara deki estetsa ani teste kura. So it's nice that we have a pilot a Facebook panitiana, Facebook, email tiana. So there was hardly any exchange. Pilot Carol and Tim sanga, maar het city lectu. Ani team hapta pachi beleid puktio, and it is pachi warlete actem porke pachi. So team moina pachi the answer pountio. And now you get it instantly. Yeah, so that is all increasing our knowledge and our exchange.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it. Mata 80s ma K sound arute tatio arute just a hill partridge. Yeah, you have this nice sound high up in the jungle. Maile sade bidare yuta lata koshero ala ani ekdom kotsne zantio kaptart ani kaka taumaru. And I only found out after 5 years or so that it was a hill partridge. I went all the time through the book from Ali and Ripley, all the sounds, and what can it be? And then finally I looked at hill partridge and I found it was hill partridge. So nowadays, 2000 deki mailet our internet salapachi. I downloaded more sounds from the internet. I bought CDs, so I learned more. And now it's again going faster, acceleration because of eBird. They want you to upload, and I find it quite easy if you have smart. I have smart recorder. eBird recommended that, but they also recommend one or two others. And I try to upload first my sound. I took video with my camera, and then I extract this audio, but that is low quality. So now I do it with my mobile, and the sound. It's amazing that with mobile the sound quality is not too bad. I can pick it out. On eBird you get these sonograms, and in the sonogram the sound that you want to hear, you have many jungle sounds, but you can see the particular sound that you want to hear. So that is, and you can compare that sonogram with something on eBird, or in the book of Rasmussen, there's also a number of sonograms there. So now for some birds, like yellow-browed warbler, I never dare to say, there was one birder, Arend Pearson, he had very bad eyesight, so he was very good with his ears. And he said, this is a yellow-browed warbler, and that is a Hume's warbler. They are very similar, but the sound is different. He could understand the differences, I couldn't hear it. So that's also in my book, I write that. I said, once it was clear for me, Arend has explained that, and one another time I also was quite sure. The other times I was not sure about them. But now I record the sound, and I find every time I go along the Bagmati and hear the Salagari, I find at least always one yellow-browed warbler, the others are Hume's warblers. And that is by sound analysis. So you learn a lot, and then slowly your ears also start to pick up. You said, okay, this might be the yellow-browed warbler. Now I finally get it. Yeah, so slowly you learn. Sounds are not easy, but I'm doing it already 50 years. So if I'm not good at it now, then I will never be good at it. So I let. So Ajay Sigdetsa sound haru. It's amazing that I still can learn at my age, but it's good.
So what is the difference between song and a call of a bird?
A call. There's different calls. There's alarm calls. There's contact calls. Mostly those are there, and then quarrels if they have quarrels with each other. And then a song is really to indicate I want to have a partner. I'm sitting here. This is my area. Get out. Yeah. So. One of the interesting things is, like Dobitsara, Dobitsara is our nicest singer, हाम्रो बगाइन्छमा. So, the spring ma उनीहरु धेरै गाउँछ, then summer ma अलि चुप गर्छ, धेरै कम गाउँछ, then in September, October, फेरि गाउन थाल्छ. And in the Netherlands it's the same with many birds, and if they will to पुरानो bird watcher, they just enjoy that the autumn. I said, no, it cannot be, there's always a reason. Now I have been building a theory that our September ma, our yongharu, अहिले त यहाँको दोबिचाराले at least दुईचोटि breed गरेको. मेरो दोकाको, I can show that we have the nest just next to the door. Dui breed गरेको, and the first batch 2 and the last batch maybe only one bird survived. And so those young are also in the bagainsa. Ani unala ramaunsa, ani they go also a little bit outside Makai tira, ani so it's quite easy. They're somehow so they don't fight. Tara September ma, त्यो adult pairहरूले उनीहरूले विचार गर्छ यो youngहरू यहाँ बस्दा त ठिक छैन, उनीहरू त जानु पर्छ. अनि then they start to fight. They start to chase the young out. And they start to sing. They say, this is my area, get out. So that is what I think they're singing. And calls are different. Alarm calls are, I can hear, because Masade Yan here too, so if there's an alarm call, they have different alarm call for black kite, for and then for, especially black kite they have alarm, and then for sparrowhawk, shikra, and then peregrine. If the peregrine passes by, it's really panic, whee, and then everything is immediately empty. If the kite comes, then everybody complains, but they stay in their trees and something like that. So alarm call is also a nice study. It might be a nice study area for a student also. Yeah.
So how male and females of bird are morphologically different?
Morphologically?
Yeah.
Male often they look nicer, more bright than the female. Female, especially Dun female, let's say nest duty differs by bird. Some, just to Chhimeki Chara, they do palo, so they look similar. Where the female does more nesting duty, then the male is often more bright and the female is more dull, because nesting was the ali camouflage. So I think that is the main reason why some female are more dull, and the male, they like to sit on top of the tree and say, here I am. So then I'm not. I don't know that much about it. You have that with bioweavers quite clear that male Rusapai nest banauन्छ and the female they're checking and said, oh, this is a nice one. I go with this one. Here, मेरो बगैँचामा चराहरू पहिलो जोडी हुन्छ अनि त्यसपछि मात्र नेस्ट बनाउँछ जस्तै छ. So उनीहरूले कसरी चुज गर्छ त थाहा छैन. How they do that? There might be also pheromones involved, that somehow hormones they smell in the air said I have to go with number 1 and not with number 2. So I don't know enough about it. Kai त जस्तो त्यो डम्पिङ साइटतिर जान्छ त्यही कारणले त कमी भएको छैन होला. अब विन्टरमा धेरै आउँछ. अहिले यङहरू पनि धेरै निस्केको छ. अस्ति डस्कमा 80वटा त त्यही somehow during the day उनीहरूले त काठमाडौँबाट त्यो भ्यालीमा जान्छ. अनि at 6-7 o'clock they come back slowly. They circle and sometimes big group, and then they sail over there. So I feel there गर्टेको छैन होला. तर some others यो जस्तो त्यो पनि area specific यो डाँडामा अलिक डिस्टर्ब भएको छ. पहिले यो घरहरू थिएन, यो आवाज पनि थिएन. So northern sparrowhawk and shikra was a regular visitor. Buzzard, kestrel पनि यहाँ धेरै जसो तलतिर हन्टिङ गर्थ्यो तर यहाँ पनि कहिलेकाहीँ आउँथ्यो. तर अहिले विन्टरमा उनीहरूले कम देख्छ because there's now more houses, so less prey. So it's quite so पक्का urban area मा गर्छ. Steppe eagle त गर्टेको छैन. उनीहरू त यहाँ तल बागमतीमा अझै खान पाउँछ. So डेमा माथि जान्छ अनि उनीहरूले देखिहाल्छ गर्टेको छ. because मान्छेले त अब 20 उस try गरेको छ है. So that's not धेरै चरालाई त गाह्रो हुन्छ. If you're अब त्यो नेदरल्यान्ड्सको एक्जाम्पल यहाँ नेपालमा पनि गोसहाक हुन्छ है. नर्दर्न गोसहाक हाम्रो देशमा जङ्गलमा घटेको छ अनि बजारमा बढेको छ. के भयो भने agricultureमा became more efficient. So सबै गेडाहरू त्यो मसिनहरूले त टिप्छ. पहिले त धेरै बाँकी छोड्थ्यो अनि त्यसमा त्यो परेवा धेरै आउने अनि परेवालाई हन्ट गर्ने गोshawk. So in the countryside goshawks were quite common in the jungle. They would come out of the jungle and hunt the parewa on those fields. तर agriculture practice ले गर्दा परेवा त घटेको छ अनि गोshawk पनि घटेको छ. अनि कहाँ गोshawkले अलि prey पायो भने अनि बजारहरूमा पार्कहरूमा अनि अलि बढी बजारतिर गएको छ. त्यो त नेदरल्यान्ड्समा त्यस्तै छ. So if the agriculture becomes more efficient and more poisonous, then birds will suffer. Yeah. So a lot of and if the hedges in Netherlands also some areas they made very efficient. They cut away all the shrubs and trees in between. So charaहरू धेरै घटेको छ. Now in some areas they are planting those hedges again so that birds can flee.
We can also try this in Taudaha.
Huh?
We can also try this in Taudaha.
Yeah, if there are just a little bit here and there bushes in between, if there are patches where birds can go, that is important. Organic agriculture, it would be very nice. तर नेपालमा त्यसको control छैन. So if people want to cheat, they can cheat. So once one person cheat, then the other also give up. So that is the problem. It's not my favorite category, but it's the category that alarms most because about Bagmati, just met the Bagmatima Chara and Natalio, it's just by chance, by location. हामीले यहाँ घर बनाउन लाग्यो, so this was close by. and it was quite interesting. And many of the birds I know also from Netherlands, because wetland birds, Netherlands and Nepal are not much different. Most of the ducks, most of the waders are the same. So, but they are very worrying. Maन्छेलाई पानी चाहिन्छ खानलाई अनि सिंचाइको लागि. So water extract हुन्छ from lakes, from rivers, then rivers pani polluted हुन्छ. So wetland birds suffer, and not only Nepal, सबै ठाउँमा, Rus, Chin, India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, जतै पनि problem छ. Wait, hey? Is that your question was wetland birds? Yeah. So Gardagosa, it's very sad. Forest birds in Nepal, in the hills, no problem. There's so many area become wild again, more jungle.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about those. In the Tarai jungle, mata worry hunsa. Tabaiलाई body थाहा छ किन तपाईँ तराईको अलि body हेर्नु भयो. But wetland birds everywhere they suffer. So that's also why I'm sad about Taudaha, त्यहाँ एकदम bathtub जस्तै बनाएको. अहिले कीर्तिपुरको mayor अनि staffहरू मैले त बल्ल अलि छलफल गर्न थाल्यो. They also say, yeah, maybe we went too far. अलि control गर्न पर्ने, के गर्न पर्छ. So I'm not sure which way it goes. I have to contact them again. Yeah. So, and Taudaha is also important because it's the nice place for all Oh, yeah.
How the feathers are
Okay, so that is called molting. Every year, birds replace their feathers. Ani raptorharuma ali body chito deख्छ. Tara drongo also quite easy because they have lamo putser and one time the lamo putser gएको अनि बिस्तारै फेरि grow हुन्छ. So प्रत्येक वर्ष उनीहरूले फेर्छ. And raptorharuma, every raptor species has a different pattern. So it's quite from raptor, if you want to study raptors and see how old they are, then studying the molting pattern, if you see that this feather has changed and it is September, then you know, okay, that means so the other ones that are still there, the young feathers that are remaining, they look like this. So this bird is 2 years old, and even there might be different, just like with kites from Tibet and kites from Kathmandu, they molt in different ways, different times. So you even might say, this bird is molting now, so it's probably a bird from Tibet. Teste ons. So there's a lot to learn. People don't know these things, but your raptor to Forsman ko raptor kitab मैले पढेको छ, and it's quite interesting. So they start, if they have a wing like this, then some start to molt from this feather and they go like this. Others they start from in the middle and they go one way, and then they go this way. So it's quite interesting. I am not a सबै कुरा थाहा छैन, तर पढेको छ. I found it fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, त्यति भन्न पर्दैन. The nice thing about birding is there's varieties. You can have fanatical guys like me. You can have fanatical guys who are far more fanatical than me, and they hear about the bird in Chitwan and they take the motorcycle or the bus and they go immediately. I'm not like that. Yeah, I like the common birds. I like to study patterns and some details that other people don't study. And other people they go on expeditions far away and so find many interesting birds. So you have those, but you have also people who see birds only. They notice them only once a year or maybe only once in a lifetime. That is also valuable. Yeah. So if people they might join हाम्रो चरा हेर्न Saturdayमा maybe 3-4 चोटि आउँछ, त्यसपछि छोड्छ, रमाएको हुन्छ. So they're aware about birds, but they are not so crazy that they go every Saturday. So there's this whole range, and let everybody at least once in their life look at birds and understand. and stop killing them, or slowly हाम्रो awareness पनि आउँछ होला. How can we attract them more, and how can we make so many decisions that are wrong for birds. Yeah, just like my family, they saw a snake, which is another animal, a little snake. So they killed it. They thought it's bad, maybe for our dogs also, but it was a completely harmless snake. So I get quite upset by it. So it's also awareness of people about birds and how our decisions can harm them. Yeah. So I hope that awareness slowly grows. Yeah, and that. And that only comes if more people start to notice birds and understand it, and our understanding slowly increases. I hope there are many students who get fascinated by it and start to study more about how birds live among us or in the jungles. Yeah, so that we continue to increase our knowledge and better ways of living with birds and giving them space. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah.